We are live. Start now. What's going on? This is Marcus. Hold on. What's going on? This is Marcus, and this is your Monday workout. So, of course, today's going to be a kettlebell workout. The way I have this structured, it's going to be an upper body-centric, upper body-focused workout. You're going to need a couple different kettlebells. Ideally, you got a pair, but if you don't have a pair, you can absolutely incorporate some single-sided work. And I'm going to do this timed rep sets, so that way it just makes it a little bit easier to go through. But we'll have this obviously saved on here, so you'll have all the reps and how you can incorporate this workout. So I like this workout. I've done this a couple times. Really enjoy it. Just it's a nice change of pace if you're doing a lot of the same type of exercises. I love kettlebells. I don't like doing the same thing over and over and over again. I like to mix things up a little bit in order to give myself a little bit of variety and not create potential overuse injuries, because that's a very common thing with kettlebells, because we get really excited. We want to do a bunch of snatches, a bunch of swings, but just balance things out. Anyway, all right, so we'll start off with a bit of a warm-up, and then we'll go through the 3 different blocks, and like I said, regular time says on this. All right, the first combo we're going to be doing, this is just going to be the warm-up. You can do whatever warm-up you prefer. I love incorporating joint mobility. We'll just bypass that right now. We'll go through these 3 movements. First is going to be a shoulder opener. Second is going to be an around the body to hold. And then the third is going to be a chest supported swing. So I like all 3 of these because we're warming up the shoulders, we're warming up the back, we're warming up the hips, and we're starting to incorporate some of those movements that we're going to be using during the kettlebell workout. Just trying to put this down a little bit, trying to get the Instagrams, and pretty soon we're going to have to go live on TikTok and whatever else we got. All right, so shoulder openers, we're going to start off in the rack position. And if you're brand new to kettlebells, this is the rack position. What I want you to do with this is try to stay relatively vertical. You'll have people that say come in a little bit. That's totally fine, just as long as you don't come out. So make sure there's no external rotation when you're in this rack position. I like just to have a vertical position here, because then I can go right into presses, I can go right into squats, and I don't have to shift anything. All right, we're going to go 30 seconds, not 35, into shoulder openers. So stand up nice and tall, pull your shoulder down, you're going to lift up your elbow, and you're going to rotate as far back as you can, and then right back to that starting position. Rotate. So we're getting some rotation through the torso. I'm trying to keep my hips stable on this first set. So I'm opening up and then right back. So this is a great way. I don't want to necessarily incorporate too much stretching here, but I do want to get in and out of these positions pretty comfortably. So maybe that first one might just be pulling back slightly, but ideally you get all the way back. So again, this first one, we're keeping our hips stable. So no rotation through the hips on this first one. You just tune it in. We're starting this warm up for this upper body workout. So lifting up that elbow, rotating back as far as you can. That feels comfortable, not putting any strain on your shoulder, on that delt, or on that joint. So just go as far back as you feel good. And shake it out. Next one we're gonna do around the body to hold. And I love this one because it starts to get a little dynamic. We get that hand-eye coordination going back and forth. We're not gonna hold and try to make it super intense. We're just gonna have a nice pause, come back around. So if you can't do this in a place where you feel like you might be able to drop it, or if you feel like you're gonna drop it and you can't do that, just when you switch behind your back, just make sure you have the other hand on the bell. So as you come back and around, it's not very complicated. People see it, they're like, oh, you're gonna drop it. I've never once dropped the bell doing this, so don't worry about it. All right, around the body. I say that, and now I'm gonna drop the bell. I feel it coming. So just nice and easy, warming up back. Again, no rotation on this first set, just allowing the weight to come around, switching back and forth. Again, I really like this one just for that hand-eye coordination, just to start coordinating left and right side. I'm making it very simple, not super dynamic, and then I'm not rotating. All right, last one, we're doing a chest-supported swing. Not really a swing, it's more like a chest-supported deadlift, because we're not moving ballistically on this. All we're doing is we're pulling the hips back, pull the shoulders back, stand up nice and tall. So there's no pause as you would with the deadlift. I want to just keep moving through this. So pulling the weight into my belly. And this is a great way to learn how to swing the kettlebell, because It helps you understand that abdominal tension that you have to create and keep the entire time you're swinging, and how to maintain that upper body positioning in the swing, because we're so focused with swings on how high the bell goes and how fast our hips are going and how far our hips, we forget about our upper body. So, all right, let's get a knee warm. We'll go one more time through that. Shoulder opener, around the body, chest supported. On the second set, we're gonna get a little fancy with it. We're gonna start to add a little bit more rotation. So on that first shoulder opener, now I wanna rotate my hips as far as I can. So I'm trying to create as much rotation from the ground up. All right, from here, rotate. I can lift up that heel if I want. Otherwise, I'm just gonna try to rotate as far back as I can. So if you're using a light enough weight, this should actually feel really good. Anytime I had clients go through this, they would tell me afterwards how much better their shoulder mobility felt getting that overhead position. And when you're rotating, don't try to rotate so hard that you're starting to get into that lower back. You are going to experience some lower back rotation there, but try not to like overly pull on that way back. All right, up and back. So I would recommend giving this workout a try, obviously, but at the very least, as you go through this, if you're watching this, find an exercise, find something that really appeals to you, and then work on that. So it doesn't mean you have to go through the whole thing. Just, Bruce Lee things. Use what's useful, disregard the rest. Pull back in this. I like this one because you're really engaging that lat as you come back. All right, further around the body, this one, we're gonna add a bit of rotation. We can change the step in there, change the foot position if you want to make it a little bit more dynamic. Otherwise, we're gonna add a little more rotation. And this is one of my favorite warm-ups because you don't need to go heavy. It really engages everything. And I find it very fun. Back and forth. We're going 30-second sets right now, just to keep it simple, but I'll have reps on here, so that way if you do it at a different time. All right, last one, chest support swing. Now we're gonna add a little bit more speed to this. So I'm still not gonna pause, and I'm not gonna overly snap my hips, but I am gonna add some speed here. Matching my breath. And what I like about this position for teaching the swing is that you can pause if you want to. So if you want to get to that tall position and understand how to maintain tension and be vertical, then you can pause there. Whereas with the swing, you can't typically pause. All right. And we're done. Great work now. All right. We're going to get into the first main block here. So the 3 exercises we're going to be doing a seesaw press, we're going to be doing a half kneeling clean, and we're going to go into a quadruped row. So like a renegade row, but it's going to be a little bit easier, so you'll be able to go a little bit heavier. Again, we're going to go for time on this, but absolutely use reps on this if you want to make it a little bit more challenging. So what's the time interval? Right now I'm going 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off. Maybe a little bit more off, but the goal is to try to go as heavy as you can. And since right now we're doing this live and I want to make it a little bit more dynamic, a little bit faster pace, we're going to keep that kind of shorter rest period. But if you're doing this on your own, I would much rather you extend that rest period and try to go a little bit heavier, build some strength. All right, so we'll start off with some seesaw presses. So we're going to go a couple rounds of this. So with the seesaw press, I want you to focus, number one, and I like the seesaw press because we can go a little bit heavier than doing double presses, but I want you to focus on keeping that engagement. So as you're pressing with one, I want to pull with the other. So we're going to be alternating back and forth and go relatively, not extremely, but relatively slow. So I want you to almost count out 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000 in both directions. So it's going to make that lighter weight feel significantly more intense. All right, ready? 30 seconds on the clock. And let's go. So I'm keeping this nice and light because I want to control every aspect of this lift. And I find by incorporating some of these slower paced, slower tempoed exercises, it just engages things so much more, especially when you combine them with ballistic, powerful exercises. Ah! Oh my goodness. That felt good. All right, right into that half kneeling clean. So going from the seesaw press right into half kneeling clean. So we got some overhead pressing, and now we got some pulling. And even though there is going to be some glute, some quad, or some core engagement, it's going to be primarily upper body because you can't go as heavy, and you're going to have to focus on that upper body pull. All right, ready, set, go. So we're doing it with the swing, but if this is new for you, just go straight in that dead start clean position. So whichever feels more comfortable for you. Make sure you understand the bell is rotating around the forearm. It's not coming up and over. Oh. And you will find by incorporating some half kneeling work, half kneeling cleans, half kneeling snatches, your upper back, your traps just get absolutely smoked. Like it's kind of nuts. Just because we're not using, even though we are using some momentum, we're not using as much momentum as when I'm standing up and I got a big hip drive. I'm swinging the weights. Other side. Ready? Go for it. So we got that half kneeling clean. So at that bottom position, I'm still focusing on keeping that extension through my upper back so I'm not rounding under the pressure. And even if I rotate slightly, I'm still keeping that tension and I'm still trying to stay in that nice straight line from my lower back or from my hips up through the crown of my head. Oh. All right, so we went from the seesaw press, went into the half kneeling clean. Now let's go into the quadruped row. So similar to the renegade row, but it's going to be a little bit easier because our feet are going to be a little bit closer. So there's going to be less necessity for focusing on my hips. So when I'm in this renegade row position, I got a lot of tension throughout my hip flexor and through my groin. If I bring it in a little bit closer, still have that core upper body engagement, but it makes it a little bit easier. So I can go a little bit heavier. And I'm just nice and controlled. So I'm not going excessively fast. I'm not going excessively slow. So I want you to try to go a little bit heavier on this. Pull up, squeeze. You can get your hips down a little bit lower if you want to make it a little bit more challenging. Dramatic noises. So when you're doing that, make sure you're focusing on the arm that's planted. Don't focus on the arm you're pulling. It's very easy to be like, all right, I've seen people do this. That's what I'm saying. It's easy. It's easy just to be like, all right, I got this. I saw a dude eat it one time, and as funny as it was for me, it was not funny for them, and they were fine. They didn't get hurt. So it did end up being funny, but it could have not been funny. So the moral story is, don't try to swing that weight up. Be in a ton of control the entire time. So as you come up, focusing on that fully planted arm and squeeze as much as you can that hand. So squeeze that arm. If you're using anything lighter than a 16K, comp bells, they're nice and wide, so you should be okay. But if you're using anything like a cast iron bell, just kind of bring your feet even closer. So it'll just essentially be an alternating bent over row. Make it work for you. All right, let's go back into seesaw press. So that was the first block. We're gonna go through that again. Ready, bring it up. And go for it. Control in both directions. So at that top position, notice I'm not leaning back. So if you're leaning back, just don't go as high. Maybe you're gonna go partial range of motion. I just wanna make sure you have that shoulder mobility to get all the way overhead. And what you'll find with the seesaw press is that it is an upper body exercise, but good Lord, you feel it everywhere else. You're gonna be squeezing your glutes so tight, you can freaking crack walnuts at the end of this workout. All right, half kneeling clean. Let's have at it. So we'll go dead start, so just bring it to the ground each time. Explode up, right back down. Now, bonus tip. With cleans, you typically are ballistic in both directions. You pull ballistically, you drop ballistically. If you want a little bit of a bicep workout here and your weight is not too heavy, control that descent. If the weight's too heavy, don't do it. I want you blowing your bicep out on this. But if you want just an added challenge that's just going to tax your grip, your forearm, your bicep, then you're doing that half million clean and then controlling on the way down. Now, blasphemy for kettlebell people. That's not how you clean. I didn't say that this was how you clean. I just said if you wanted an extra challenge for the biceps, and control that descent. And what I like about this compared to using a dumbbell is that you've got the added joint that the kettlebell creates. Now with that handle in your hand, the bell rotating around, it just adds some extra movement that you wouldn't get with the dumbbell. I love the way, shout out to Jeff Butterworth for how he kind of broke that down, how with the kettlebell you have that extra joint that now you have to manipulate, you have to control. So it just adds another dynamic touch to the kettlebell that just creates an even more or an even stronger grip instead of a more stronger grip. But that's what happens when you're starting to sweat. All right, quadruped row. Get those hips down nice and low. Pull up and right back down. Now, I'm not wanting to make everything unbalanced and try to use as much coordination as possible, but if you want to make it a little bit more challenging, you can lift up that foot. It's just going to limit how much weight you can use. Pull back, squeeze, right back. Back and forth. That is the first time I've ever heard a train horn in my entire life at this house, so I don't know where that's coming from. But going back to that note about creating a lot of unbalancedness, a lot of being imbalanced. If you're doing everything with an unbalanced stance or trying to make everything functional, you're going to limit yourself entirely on how much strength you can build. So make sure you are using stability in most of your work. And even if you're using the stability in that you're in that bilateral stance, double overhead, there's still a lot of instability there. You have to create tension, but it's going to be much more stable than if you're on one leg or on a booster ball or something like that. So try to make most of your work with a lot of stability, a lot of power output, so you can build that strength that's going to carry over into more balance. All right, let's go. Last 10, seesaw press. Bring it up, press it up. Oh, create tension throughout your entire body. You should be feeling that in your feet, your grip of the ground, your quads, your glutes, your abs. Everything is engaged. If you're going nice and slow and controlled, as one weight comes down, the other weight comes up. And down. Oh my goodness. I love that one. Seesaw presses are just so challenging and so much fun. And don't worry, we'll have the workout saved on here. If you have any kettlebell questions, feel free to ask. At the end of this, I will go through any questions that are on there, any technique stuff, anything like that. All right, cleans. So, been using kettlebells for quite a while. Taught many courses. Still love using kettlebells, but my main thing is I want to make sure not to turn people into kettlebell zealots, but just to use kettlebells for what makes them powerful. Use them to supplement your own training. And then if you want to make kettlebells your main thing, then cool, you can do that. But I've had many a kettlebell skeptic come in and just gave them a couple exercises that were really just exactly what they needed. And there's always something for everybody. So we're doing that dead start clean with that controlled negative, so making it a little bit more bicep oriented. I really like this one. You're gonna feel this through your forearm, your grip, your thighs. Oh my God, timer. I was wondering about the timer. All right, back into quad row, quadruped row. Fancy way of saying being in that crawl position. Pull up, squeeze, back down. Pull up, squeeze, back down. Make sure as you're pulling up and back so that forearms stay vertical. All too often I see people pulling vertically, like right here, and they're just getting in their forearm, their elbow. Focus on your upper back. Squeeze. Done. Oh my goodness. All right, so that was the main kind of strength block. The way I had that on there was 30 seconds of work. That was like 30 seconds-ish of rest. But I want to make sure you are focusing on strength as you're doing this. So I'm doing the 30 seconds because that's a nice kind of catch-all time where if you're doing ballistic work, it's going to be a lot of reps. But if you're doing controlled exercises, it should get you in that 6 to 10 rep range the entire time. Is half kneeling for your neurological specificity? It is literally so I don't use my legs. So yes, neurologically, I'm not using my legs. It's really just to maintain as much upper body engagement. So I'm pulling much more with my back, with my shoulders, than I would be if I was using as much momentum. So you're still going to be using some quads, some glutes. You're still going to be using some backside because even if I am doing it from a dead start, I'm still hinging. But similar to if you were using a barbell, if you're doing a half kneeling, a hang clean versus a full clean, it's going to be a little bit more upper back required. I love weight shift. Same. That's what we're doing right now. We're just shifting weights. I'm a weight shifter. All right, so this next one we're going to do, we're going to go into another tricep, 3 exercises. First one is going to be a crush grip march. So a couple different ways you can do this. I'll walk you through it. We're going to go from there into a close grip push-up and then into a squat curl. No excessive squatting. We're just going to be curling from the squat position. Again, I'll walk you through it. All right, so with the crush grip march, you're going to bring that weight up. You're going to hold the weight. You can hold it upside down, or ideally, you're going to be pushing against it. So from here, we're going to be adding in that march, but I want you to try to push your hands into the weight as you do this. So underneath, it's going to be easier. As you go more horizontally or laterally across, you're going to create a lot more tension through your shoulders. And it makes it far more difficult. Oh my gosh. And I love that one because afterwards, I mean, you are engaging your adductors, you are engaging your chest a little bit, but it's going to be much more shoulder. And then from there, going right into the narrow push-ups. So not diamond push-ups, just wrists under or hands tucked to your side. And I want you to control that descent. Control, keep your arms tucked to the sides. Try to be as stiff as a board through your torso. Controlling the descent the entire time. So we're bringing our hands closer together so that we're engaging a little bit more triceps. Oh my goodness. So you're looking at this from the front view. Arms are tucked. And as I come down, I'm keeping my arms tucked the entire time. So I'm not flaring out. And I don't like diamond push-ups. Just a little too much stress on the wrist for me. So it makes it a little bit easier there. All right, so squat curl, we're gonna get to the bottom of a squat. If you don't have the mobility to get to the bottom of the squat, you can use a bench or a box. So you're sitting on something and almost using your legs as like a preacher curl. But from here, you're gonna hold the weight, curl it up, sit nice and tall and stay nice and tall the entire time. And I like this one because obviously getting some bicep action, but anytime I can get people into a squat and practice that bottom of that squat position, is going to increase their overall athleticism. Oh my goodness. I know, curling the kettlebell. It's freaking kettlebell blasphemy. But a couple ways I like to curl the kettlebell. Hold it by the horns. If it's a light bell, you can hold it upside down, and that is way more engaging on the wrist. Or you can hold the bell portion. What I find by holding the bell portion, you definitely start to get up into those flexors. So it can aggravate it. So if you're doing a lot of like bell curls where you're holding the bell, or I'm sorry, bell rows, that can put a little bit of too much strain into that flexor. So I like to do that crush grip to get that adduction, and then the curl I'll just hold by the horns. All right, check it out. We're gonna do that again. Into that crush grip. So if the bell's heavier, come underneath it. If the bell's lighter, come directly to the side. I'll give you that front view. Shout out to one of my friends who used to train at my gym. Frank used to have the classes do these crush grip walks, and we would walk and then started having our fighters do it, and they would bring their arms up, they'd go in different positions and just hold. If the weight was really light, oh shit, you can make it really intense. Oh, so it was just a fun challenge. Definitely double down that tension throughout your torso as you're doing it, and you just feel your shoulders, your chest get a little bit more engagement. All right, into that narrow push-up, controlling the descent, and then getting right back up. Control, back up. If you cannot do a full push-up, I would rather you just hold this top position, come down a couple inches, and go right back up. I'd rather you do that than bring it down to the knees. So that way your progression will be trying to go a little bit lower each time. Back down, back up. And right into that squat curl. All right. Get down nice and low, squeeze. And then again, control that descent. With ballistic exercises, of course, you're not controlling a lot of the movement. You're just managing that weightlessness and of the weight of the movement. But when you're doing controlled exercises, I want you to really focus on as much intention as possible on that negative portion of the lift. Really focus on that at the top position. Engage, squeeze that musculature. It's going to help you get so much more out of this. Great learning. Thanks. Question about mixing dual kettlebell exercises. I have single. What if I use a set? Yes. So the question was, can I use double exercises with two different weights? And absolutely. I think Dan John has an awesome article and has some really great presentations about that. But a lot of coaches have talked about that. I love using that. So like a heavier bell on one side, lighter bell on the other side. So as long as you balance it out, that's good. But great for creating a lot more tension, and you really weed out weaknesses with that because you'll start to see what starts to shift. So it really forces you to double down that tension on these different stabilizers. Definitely a lot more tension on your core. And then just a fun challenge. I wouldn't go too excessive, like don't use like a 12K on one, like a 48K on the other. But you know, 1 or 2 weight difference is a really fun way just to challenge your stability. All right, where am I at? Do the curls. Last one, crush grip, march. So again, I can add a little bit more tension here by squeezing, bringing my arms out to the side. It's like that Simpsons. I got the jug. Back and forth, trying to hold that bell, squeeze as tight as you can. At that top position, bring that knee up, hold. Oh my goodness. At the end of that one, like I said, you're gonna feel your chest, your shoulders, and definitely your abs are gonna be just in fuego. All right, narrow push-up. Last set of narrow push-ups here. Pull yourself down, right back up. Yeah, it's definitely with some kettlebell exercises, but with a lot of bodyweight exercises, especially like push-ups and bodyweight squats, we just mindlessly go through those exercises, really not creating tension, just kind of like trying to count as many reps as I can do. No, I'd rather quality over quantity, and then quantity, and then more quality. All right, last one. Squat curl, and then we are done, and we'll cool it down. Pull up, squeeze, Control that descent. Pull up, squeeze. Control that negative. So this is helping your squat depth and your bicep strength. So win, freaking win. Game over, man. Game over. So that was your upper body focused workout. Watching 3 days after knee replacement. Can't wait. Yeah, don't do it right this second. If you just had knee replacement. Awesome. Awesome, Andy. Great to hear. And if y'all have any questions over here, I'll try to keep it like in screen the entire time. All right, let's stretch it out a little bit. So that was the workout. Upper body focus. You can go back and watch the whole thing. Why not? And not even work out again. Just have a breakfast period. I don't care. But like I said, get something. Hopefully you got something from that. Hopefully there's one piece of that. You're like, okay, I really like that. I'm going to try that. I'm going to incorporate that in my workouts. So that's the goal with any of the stuff that I do, is just to give you a new perspective on how to use kettlebells, just how to train. You know, I've been training for, 20 years now. It's been a minute. So 2001 was my first training cert, and kind of did it off and on. But 2008 is when I went full core, hardcore in, and just seeing a lot of different things come and go. But I'll be on here for a few more minutes. So if you have any questions, otherwise, cool it down with some stretching. A few things here, so do that again. So I like this one, especially because with a lot of kettlebell work, you're doing a lot of traps, a lot of pulling. Please do more kettlebell flow. Yes, more kettlebell flow is coming. Spoiler alert, doing a little kettlebell flow online workshop in December. Very excited about it. I've been doing kettlebell flow since 2011. That was the first time I put flow into a workout. I call it strength in motion. I was like, didn't really know what to name it. And this was before flow was a thing. And just kept kind of going with it. And, kettlebell flow gets a bad rap because a lot of people look at it and they're like, oh, that's poor. Let's just use a heavier kettlebell, dude. It's not about that. It's about connecting dots. It's about, it's almost like a movement meditation. I find it, very taxing cardiovascularly. So it's a great conditioning workout, but it's also, again, just really fun. Like I would teach kettlebell flow workshops. So when I was doing stuff with On It, with Kettlebell Kings, and I would always have a flow section at the end of my advanced workshops. And there was always some kind of free flow where people would, do a bunch of movements, and it would build up based off of what we had done throughout the day. But at the end of the workout, you're doing, connecting dots, doing rotational stuff, doing transverse stuff, doing alternating stuff, rotational, transverse, the same, switching feet positions, and just kind of moving. So it wasn't about trying to be as crazy as possible. And shout out to all the people who are absolutely insane and do a lot of different flips and all that crazy stuff. But for me, it was just about trying to connect as many pieces, being in control, and it was about the transitions. So when it was about the clean, it was about how to manage that weightlessness to turn it into another movement. And then instead of thinking about one particular movement, it was about how it all flows together. So I absolutely love flow. There's a time and place for it. So yeah, didn't really answer your question, but no one. Like your username is no one. It just says great. It says no one. Great. All right. From there, we're gonna grab one weight. We'll do another one of my stretches I really like. You're gonna hold on to the bottom of the handle or bottom of the bell. And if you're super flexible, you might need to elevate yourself on something. But round everything, come down into a nice hang, and just kind of hang out here. So if you have a really light weight and healthy spine, this is totally fine. If you have any kind of degenerative spinal issues and you have back pain, I would not do this with a weight, but if you feel good, go for it. Slowly pull yourself back up. And there, we're going to stretch out a little bit more. See, there's a few questions. Taught myself linking transverse circles, pendulum presses from your stuff years ago. Oh, awesome. Yeah. Yeah, again, it's just fun. It's so much fun to incorporate. Like some of the best testimonials I would get after these workshops, there was a ton of exercises that we would go over. People would feel really confident in teaching. But at the end of the flow workshops or flow sections, one of my favorite testimonials that I would get repeatedly was at the end of the workout, they felt good. Like they felt like they got a customized workout because they were working within their own abilities. They were working in movements that felt good to them. So it's not the place to challenge yourself with excessively heavy weight or push your strength. It's just about challenging your movement quality. So how can I, again, combine exercises? How can I link up exercises? And then if I don't want to do some crazy fancy flow, how do I just take 2 or 3 exercises, link those together, make that its own exercise, and then just practice that? So a rotational snatch or a pendulum clean or something like that. So you can kind of take pieces from a flow and then incorporate that into your workout, and that becomes something that you can progressively overload and get stronger with. So there's a lot of applications from flow besides like, oh, it's fancy and it looks good for Instagram. I was doing that shit way before Instagram was a thing. And it was more about how I felt. And it was just a great way to create awareness, build coordination and balance, and then just do something else with the kettlebell. Because when I started with kettlebells, it was like, you do these movements. These are the only movements. If you don't do those movements, you are wrong, and we're going to revoke your kettlebell pass. So I'm like, get the F out of here. So that's why I really gravitated towards people like Steve Maxwell and Steve Cotter and Mike Castrogiovanni and people that were doing things just unique. And I'm like, okay, I like that. Like, I'll take some of those things, make it my own, and then hopefully pass on to other people that they can make it their own. And that's been my plan. Awesome, 603 Jordan. Great to hear. All right, so hopefully, again, you got something from this. Again, this was an upper body workout, but we went a little bit deeper. We had a little bit more fun, connected a little bit more. We've got some awesome workouts coming up this week, so check out all the cool ones here on Kettlebell Kings. And since I'm going to be with my own account, check out kettlebell exercises. I got a lot of fun stuff on there. And again, my goal is just to give you some new, unique ways to do things, but then also some traditional stuff that will help you get stronger, more athletic, and just enjoy. You know, kettlebells are not the end all be all. They're not the wear a Kettlebell King shirt on a Kettlebell Kings page. It's not the only thing, but it is a very fun thing. And if you do some things with it that really help you, then awesome. Hopefully that you kind of gravitate towards those pieces and supplement your training and just have fun with this. This whole thing should be fun. People take this shit way too seriously. This is training. This is a ball with a handle. Don't be so serious about this. Take your training seriously, take your health seriously, but you know, enjoy it. All right. I will catch you all on the next one. I literally can't end this. There it is. Boop, boop, boop. All right. Thank you guys on here. Hopefully that was helpful, and I will have this saved, and I'll put the workout in here as well. And stream.